गुड मॉर्निंग सर।
गुड मॉर्निंग बर्दन जी। कैसे हो?
एकदम एकदम अच्छे हैं सर, आप ठीक हैं?
यस यस। सो दिस इज योर फिजिकल ऑफिस और इट्स ए वर्चुअल स्क्रीन बिहाइंड यू?
दिस इज वर्चुअल स्क्रीन सर।
ओके ओके, या दैट्स व्हाट इज अपीयरिंग। मैंने कहा इतना बड़ा ऑफिस कहाँ से आ गया?
दिस इज अवर बिल्डिंग सर, बट दिस इज ऑडिटोरियम।
ओके। अच्छा अच्छा, दिस इज द ऑडिटोरियम व्हिच नाउ द यूनिवर्सिटी हैज। अरे
यस
वाह।
यस सर, यस सर, जस्ट इन फ्रंट ऑफ अवर मेन ऑफिस।
ओके। ओ ब्यूटीफुल ऑडिटोरियम। क्या बात
या वेरी वेरी ब्यूटीफुल सर, सम 800 सीटिंग कैपेसिटी।
है, वेरी गुड।
आपको सर एक बार और आना होगा फिजिकली देखने के लिए। यूनिवर्सिटी बहुत चेंज हो गई है।
हाँ आएंगे ना। मैं आफ्टर माय लिविंग आई केम वंस फॉर फिजिकली फॉर वाइवा।
पीएचडी वाइवा, पीएचडी वाइवा।
एक वाइवा में आया था, आप थे
हाँ
ना वहां तो?
हाँ, रमा मैडम का है।
हाँ जी हाँ जी। वन टाइम आई केम। आएंगे, व्हाई नॉट। भारतेंदु जी,
हाँ सर।
कैन यू जस्ट टेल मी ए ब्रीफ प्रोफाइल ऑफ द पार्टिसिपेंट्स?
सर, अ, अभी मुझे सब्जेक्ट वाइज नहीं मालूम है, ये कॉमर्स, इकोनॉमिक्स और मैनेजमेंट के हैं मेनली।
ठीक है।
फ्रॉम 14 स्टेट्स।
हाउ मेनी? 14
फोर्टी
स्टेट्स ऑफ
फाइव
द
फोर्टी
कंट्री?
फाइव 40 to 45 आर देयर।
राइट, एंड द ज्योग्राफिकल डिस्पर्शन?
14 स्टेट्स हैं सर।
ओह माय
14 स्टेट्स हैं।
गॉड। दे इंक्लूड द नॉर्थ इंडिया आल्सो? इज
नॉर्थ
इज
इंडिया
इट?
ऑल्सो सर, आपके राजस्थान से भी एक है।
क्या बात है। चलिए, नाउ दैट्स अ गुड इंफॉर्मेशन, एंड द अदर थिंग इज इट्स अ रिफ्रेशर कोर्स, ओके?
इट्स अ
So,
रिफ्रेशर।
in case there are 40, 45 around, I mean, all have teaching experience of 2, 3 years minimum.
मस्ट बी सर, इट इज रिफ्रेशर कोर्स मीन्स मस्ट बी 2 years, 1.5 year समथिंग।
Hmm.
First, they have to go for orientation, faculty
Yes,
induction
yes,
program.
yes. I will know.
So it must
No.
be 1, 2 years now.
And how about, I mean, that you can definitely see from the data that you have.
Yeah.
Out of 40, for example, how many are already doctorates?
Sir, if I see the list of participants, then most of them are doctorate, except a few.
Fine, fine. But this is sure that they might have done their doctorate
Yeah,
recently.
yeah, maybe
Recently.
but they're not using doctor. Yes, yes.
Or yeah, yeah. So, but this appears that most of them may not be supervisors at the moment,
Yes, most probably, sir. Yes,
and they may be in, or they are new supervisors.
maybe new supervisors. Yes. Sir, sir, should we start?
Yeah, please.
Sir, more than 30 have joined, so we may start.
Fine, fine. No, it's
Okay,
already 5 minutes
so
up. Yeah.
okay. Yeah. So, dear friends, now we are going to start our first technical session. Although it is second session for today, inaugural session already conducted. So now we are having Professor G. Soral sir with us. He is a senior faculty member. He served ML Sukhadia University, Department of Accountancy and Statistics for very long period. He had been head and dean of the department and school. For a short duration, he was a faculty member, head of the Department of Commerce of our university, also Mizoram University. In the month of July 2004, he joined, and up to February 2005, he was here for a very short duration. But in that short duration, he has whatever seeds of everything he has sown, we are trying to cultivate, we are trying to take it further. So we welcome Professor Soral sir for making a presentation here. He has been very, very active, seriously active in academics. He is a very active member in Accounting Association, Indian Accounting Association. He is a person behind National Accounting Talent Search Program. A lot of contribution he is having, a lot of papers he has written. So I invite you, sir, for this presentation, and he's going to talk on scientific research methods. So, sir, now time is yours, sir. And one more request to the participants: try to put your questions in chat box or Q&A box, so that we can put this question to Professor Soral towards end of your session. So, sir, you may start, sir.
Thank you very much, Professor Bharatenduji, first for inviting me to my own university once again and giving me this opportunity. Friends, before you joined, I was talking with Bharatenduji about your profile, and I was told that your subjects are commerce, economics, management. Most of you are already teachers for 3 to 5 years standing at an average. And most of you are doctorates already. Some of you are already supervisors. Some of you may be joining as PhD supervisors. So, and you are representing Pan India. I am so happy to learn that. I was told that you are representing 14 states of India, all parts for that matter. Also from Rajasthan, from where I am calling at the moment. So that's really a great opportunity for me to interact with you. It's a very enjoyable part of my time spent today. Friends, the purpose of this program which the university is organizing has already been communicated to me. It's a refresher course on research methodologies, and this is the very first session after inaugural. So I will be talking with you some of the basics, maybe many things that you already know. Shortly I will shift to my screen. My request to all of you would be that please be ready with your questions, like what Bharatenduji has just before said. This is very important, I mean, to interact. To my mind, it is more important to interact, particularly when the session is online like this. Okay, because if we are face to face, then our body languages can be appreciated by each other, and communication can be even more effective. But when it is online, that part is little missing. So no issues. Be ready with your questions. So you may put them, as was said, in the chat box. And Bharatenduji, I would like to give a in between break also for the questions, rather than dragging everything by the end of the session. I would like to give a break in between, some 35, 40 minutes later on, whenever I find this will be convenient time, so that the alertness on either side is more.
Yes.
Friends, you are all teachers. You know that if the students are active in a classroom or in an audience, the participants are active, right? That adds to your activeness also as a speaker, and vice versa is also true, right? So whenever we are in audience, it's our duty in a way, right, to keep the speaker active. So that's what I request you. Be ready with your questions. Do put them, and I'll give a break in between. And then by the end of the session, by 1 o'clock, we have to wind up. And before that, again, I will definitely be happy to reply to your queries. And if we spend good time in query and discussion, I think that would be even more useful than my single hand delivery on one side. So just don't hesitate to raise your queries. Thank you very much. My screen is visible, I hope. Okay?
Yes, sir.
Visible, hai na?
Yes, sir.
So friends, this is what scientific and doctoral research, this is what I wanted to talk about. As such, methods of scientific research, I would not like to deal with, because this is just a 90-minute session. We will look at the overview and the concept part of it more. And as I have deliberately put over here, doctoral research, my objective was this only, which matches with your profile participants. That you are already doctorates, maybe recent doctorates in last, say, 7-8 years, you might have completed that in general. And many of you might have already started supervising PhD candidates, and many others may now be planning to supervise candidates. A few of you may still be concluding your doctorates. This is what I appreciate about your profiles. So for all that, ours being in an academic environment, it's extremely important that we pay attention to research culminating into doctoral research. That's our main forte. So that's what I have planned. Let us see how does it go. Let me begin. First with scientific research. Now, subject profile was your economics, management, commerce. Okay, nobody is from pure sciences here. Nobody is from humanities background also here. So I mean, diversity is little less. Normally, when we address such referential courses, diversity is much extensive. Like last time, I think 2 weeks before only, I was addressing a batch at Nehu, Shillong, online of course. It ranged from drawing and painting to physics to accountancy to marketing management. You can understand. So, I mean, these challenges also we teachers must always enjoy. That's what I expect from you also. So here, I mean, we all three subjects are social sciences. And therefore, I would like to tell you that when I talk to you about scientific research, this can be understood as research done in a scientific way, right? So it's not some science being researched. It is the mode of research being scientific, right? So that is what is my focus. Few bullet points I will discuss with you now. You see, search for knowledge through objective and systematic methods. You may take it as a definition of research, but actually this may be the better definition of scientific research. Right. Let us look into it further. First three words: search for knowledge. Research is essentially a search for knowledge. Now, what is knowledge? What is there that we have to search? So what is knowledge? Maybe a bit difficult to define knowledge as such. But for our purpose, the meaning which we can take here is anything which is known. Anything which is known is knowledge. And therefore, we may say that the humankind, human race, all through its history, right since the prehistoric time, the early man, to this time when we are, knowledge bank of the human race has been expanding. And particularly as we observe, last 2 decades, you may say, the pace of knowledge expansion has risen. And last 1 decade or even half of the decade, 5-6 years, the pace of knowledge expansion has been phenomenally high. Can we say that way? The same thing can be said as the research is taking place at a very fast pace, adding to knowledge? Definitely, yes. So in a way, when we say that we are living in a world of knowledge expansion, knowledge explosion rather, we also may say that we are living in a world of extensive research. I am, as I have been introduced, have been an old teacher. I had some 40 years plus teaching experience in the universities. I can very well visualize, this scene which has emerged. That at one time, during my teaching careers, initially, first decade of my career, you may say, research was there. We all were involved in that, PhDs, everything. But the type of importance and the focus and the research becoming a buzzword, everything was not there at all, as it is now for all of you in various universities and colleges. So things that way have drastically changed in this regard. Right? But yes, the search for knowledge, it remains. It may be faster or slower or whatever. Now, the other 4 or 5 words: through objective and systematic methods. So when you do this search, with objective methods, not subjective methods, and systematic methods rather than unsystematic methods, rather than without any planning or step-by-step process. You just go and do research. No, it has to be objective. It has to be systematic. You as all know that when we define science versus arts, we say that science is any systematic knowledge which can be tested, which can be universally verified, is science. So since the methods of research should be objective and systematic, we call such research as scientific research. Okay. Now, before going further, let me tell you why I am so much focusing on scientific mode of doing research. Reason being that, in other words, we say scientific research is what is methodical research. Method-based research based on methodology, which we all know that, which we all study, teach. Okay. There is a methodology. There are steps 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and there are ways and paths already established. Nowadays, when in academic researches in particular, we are always supposed to go methodically. You all know that. Even if you present a paper in a conference, seminar, they always expect your methodology to be strong. Even when you send a paper for publication, methodology is extremely important to be adhered to. Right? So everywhere people are now thinking of scientific research, appreciating scientific research. Right? That is why, I have started focusing on that right in the beginning. Look at this, bullet point. Moving from the known to unravel the unknown. What do we do in research? This is what we do broadly. And this we have been doing. This is continuously being done, and in future also the same is going to be there. So what does it say? We are moving from the known, I put it into an inverted comma, and we are trying to unravel the unknown. In order to understand, and for the sake of discussion, just visualize that known is a sort of a set, right? You know about Venn diagrams. It's a Venn diagram. It's a circle which is representing known things in the world. Now, what does it occupy? It occupies, say, the knowledge of all the human beings, all knowledge which is on all innumerable websites available now on the internet, all libraries having books, having something known recorded inside that, all video, audio records available, all that is that in one set of known. I just before said, we are living in an age of knowledge explosion, right? So this exploded knowledge, I am asking you to visualize in a one Venn diagram set, a circle, right? How large it may be, phenomenally large. But you can't say that everything is there inside that circle, because there are unknown things also. So let us imagine again, for the sake of discussion, that there is a circle representing unknown things also. Okay, and both the circles, both the diagrams are putting vis-a-vis each other. Known this side, unknown on the other side. You may also visualize it like what we used to say, that the light of knowledge and a darkness of ignorance, right? Like there are Sanskrit ukti which says tamaso ma jyotirgamaya. Let me go from tamas to jyoti. Let me shift from darkness to light. And darkness represents ignorance, unknown things. Light represents known things and the knowledge. So it's like that. One Venn diagram of knowledge is lightened, another Venn diagram of ignorance or unknown things is dark. What do? We continuously do. We go on while sitting in the known area, move towards the unknown dark area, try to find out something, unravel something from there, continuously try, and whatever we could unravel, drag it into the known area of light. This is the process which continuously goes on. And that's why the area of knowledge, the circle of knowledge is expanding constantly. And as I said before, these days it is expanding very fast. Now, friends, there is a question for you, which you may just keep replied at your own level, because we are not face to face at the moment, right? So just I'll give you 10 seconds time, think and make a reply to yourself, and then I will talk from my side on that. Question is, of the known and unknown areas, which one do you think is larger? Which one of the known set or unknown set is larger? Right? So just answer this question to yourself in about 10 seconds time. Keep it up to you only. I'll just pause for 10 seconds and start speaking again. Yes, friends. Hope you could realize that the unknown set is larger, bigger than that of the known set. Let me tell you, actually, what I feel is unknown set is not only larger than the known set, but it is much, much larger than the known set. Known set, we were just talking, it is itself is a phenomenally big set. When we say all websites available on the internet, you may imagine that perhaps the number may not be countable even, because the number of websites is rising every moment very fast, at a very fast pace. And I think this need not be explained, that how big are many websites, how big. There are websites which perhaps if you spend your time on going through them, maybe it takes years together to just visit one website. And there's that many, we have long list, very, very, very long list. And that known is constantly rising. Still, we say that the unknown is bigger. You know, in one of the prominent lectures I have heard, one scientific expert to the central government was talking some 10 years before. He that time said that as per an estimate, scientists over the globe believe that about 4% of whatever may exist, 4% of whatever may exist is known so far. So that means 96% is not known so far. And that itself is an estimate, because you see, we are talking about comparison between known and unknown. So unknown itself is so big and so limitless and not known that we just can estimate that. But broad estimate is this, that very little we know so far and much, much, much more is to be known. So friends, this second bullet points I made deliberately to discuss with you for the reason that please remember the research attempt, the research process is sort of an infinite process. It doesn't have an end. It cannot have. Because we do not know whether there will be a situation where we the human beings, will actually be able to know all that 96%. And we reach that 96% complete, then another set of unknown emerges. We never know that. Why do I say that? Because that is what has been happening in the history so far. Right? You know about the space research. Time and again, they used to say these are the planets and these are the galaxies, these are the stars estimated, and galaxies are behaving like running away from each other and these things. Then somehow they developed a new powerful telescope. They sent it into the space, stationed into the space. And the moment the human eye went into the space, they said, oh, it is much, much different than what we said earlier. And this step-by-step progress is going on. Every time they come up with a new device, they find that the things are entirely different from what we earlier know. So this is regarding the space research, but in our subjects also, this is very true. Hence, the research process, that means the search for knowledge process, will always go on. It is going on at the moment. And our lifetime, whatever we expect at an average, is very, very little to really know everything what is happening. Even if we are able to know something reasonably, is enough. It's a baton race. We'll pass on the things to next generations. They will continue doing the same thing and it will go on. Then, this bullet indicates a rather formal definition of scientific research. Right? So let us look at this. A systematic activity directed towards the discovery and development of an organized body of knowledge. Let me ask you to concentrate first on an organized body of knowledge part. Any scientific research would always focus on the organized body of knowledge. Now, for us, at the moment in the audience, what is the organized body of? You see, our subjects. If I am accounting, if I am auditing, if I am marketing research, if I am international economics, these are various organized bodies of knowledge which are my domain. And in the scientific research, we should do a systematic activity. Right. Therefore, because it is methodical, it is systematic. It is scientific. Activity has to be scientific. And it should direct itself towards the discovery and the development. These two things we have in focus to develop for our organized body of knowledge. So we have to discover, and then in course of time, we have to develop our body of knowledge by this systematic activity. So this is in our concern is scientific research. And it's a sort of a formal definition. Same thing we discussed above also. It is search for knowledge through objective and systematic methods, which actually is directed towards organized body of knowledge. Now, friends, let me discuss with you importance. Now, importance of what? Actually, this is the importance of doing research in a scientific way. That means scientific research. Why should we do the research scientifically? What is the importance of it? Before going ahead, let me tell you that what is the importance of research as such? If we ask this question, research importance is, you see, utmost, can't be exaggerated. Every progress ultimately is because of research. All walks of life, research is important for development. Now we find, the point of countries' economic development is often discussed. We are targeting, already have become 5th largest economy now, marching, very marginally now near the 3rd and 4th one. Shortly, we expect and hope to reach 3rd one. And there are countries which are developed in terms of their GDPs. Other countries are lagging behind. Broadly, if you look at all this gimmick, you will find that those countries which are ahead of us at the moment, say, in economic terms, what might have been the reason? You all know it, that those countries which are ahead of us in economic terms do not have the history and the culture as rich as that of our country. They are age-wise also much newer than India. Then what makes them ahead of us in economy? Research, knowledge. Knowledge-wise, we always look up to them, right? Like I belong to the accounting subject. Same scene is there in the remaining subjects. All are my sister subjects here. Economics is a mother subject to me, and management is a brother subject, younger brother subject. In all these subjects, which are also known to me little, every time when there is a new publication from West, and we come across it, we say, oh, then if our teacher, we go to our students and say, see, a new book has come. You must all go through it. As if we are totally depending for knowledge and researched knowledge on them. And therefore, they have become more important, more powerful in terms of economy, bigger countries, more developed. Okay, so that is broadly the importance of research. Now, if we do this research in a scientific way, right, there are certain things which further add to its importance, which I wanted to discuss with you. First one is this. If you do scientific research, then only it is authentic and widely acceptable. We were talking about the growth and development of organized body of knowledge. Okay, like say, for example, take yourself, think about yourself now. You did your PhD, or maybe you are concluding your PhD now. You did very hard, sincere work for years together in your PhD. Now, you definitely had an intention that after I finish my work and it is approved, this would be at least some addition to my subject knowledge. I mean, the bank of the subject knowledge, which is existing, my contribution will also be there. Maybe a small contribution, but it will be there. Right? Everybody expects that. Point is, if I have done it in a flawless scientific way, then only it will be considered to be an authentic addition, and then only people will accept it. And vice versa, this will not hold good. This will just be in vain. You may be getting a degree, fine, nobody will recognize your work. So you have to have background where authenticity can be proved, where scientific process is shown, and you may tell the readers that, see, this is how I have reached this conclusion. It's totally methodical. Otherwise, it will carry no importance in these terms. Another is that the resources which are put into research, you all have experienced that. You are all younger researchers, at least compared to my age. And you know that the resources which are available with a researcher, particularly the resource, by resource I mean time, right? Though other resources also are required, but let us talk about time, are always scarce. I often used to say this and believe that who has the greatest shortage of time? Who has the growth? Everybody has shortage of time. Now, these days, we have several channels whereby we may use our time. I don't say waste our time. So everybody for that matter says, I don't have time, like that. But researcher perhaps is the person who has maximum scarcity of time. Reason being that the targets of researchers themselves are undefined, unlimited, no ending, infinite sort of targets. And the researcher, particularly in case of doctoral research or any formal research, project research, conference aimed research, has to complete that within a short span of time. So you have to do something within a short span of time, which itself is an unlimited thing. So therefore, you don't have time at all. And also, you want maximum productive use of your time. Every hour that you spend on research, you would like to get productive results out of it. Output of every hour that you spend, you would like to have maximum. Now, that also depends on the scientific mode of doing research. Therefore, it's important to be scientific in doing research. And finally, one may say that because of these reasons, there is a great significance of qualified and trained researchers anywhere, in a university, in a community, in a nation, in a society, and entirely also for the entire humankind. Now, if we relate this with our country, then, and in the wake of our targeting to become a developed nation by 2047, and having highest growth rate among, big countries in the world, particularly, we need this, quite a lot. We need a sort of an army of qualified and trained researchers, like I would say you people, who know scientific methods of doing research, who are qualified to do research. And the importance of this can never be exaggerated. Here also, I remember one, lecture session. It was a seminar session, actually, which happened in Delhi some 15, 20 years before, where one senior professor said this, which I am quoting to you anonymously. Their discussion was going on regarding the PhD researches in the Indian universities, like something related to that. So during that discussion, this learned professor said that in India, we definitely need good quality researches, good PhDs, quality-wise. But before that, we also need large number of PhDs. Quantitatively also it has to grow. Quality also has to be considered, but maybe later. Let us first have as I said, a great army of qualified researchers. Friends, you perhaps are aware that the PhD degree, about which I will be talking now ahead during this session itself, right? What is the basic objective of the universities in awarding PhD? You see, one important objective is to make a qualified researcher. PhD degree with you or anybody else affirms that the university has identified that person as a qualified researcher who knows the methodology, who knows how to do research. And that's why you all know that once you have finished your PhD, that is said to be more of a beginning of PhD researches in your life than end of it, right? Which many times many people do not recognize, do not appreciate. Let them appreciate this. So friends, these 3 points only. I'm putting the things in brief because we don't have much time at the moment. In order to authenticate widely acceptable research to use the resources in a productive manner, we must go for scientific methods of doing research. And that's how we can develop qualified and trained researchers, which are very significant for any community. Now, at this stage, we have about 40 minutes already spent. I request the coordinators to give me the questions one by one. Kindly read those questions one by one. Whosoever is sitting there, Bhartenduji, in case is busy, somebody else may help me. And I would like to reply, please.
So far, I'm not seeing any question.
So just motivate them, sir. Let us wait for a minute.
So, dear friends, please keep on putting your questions in the chat box so that sir may respond to that.
Or they may, now because time we cannot waste, they may straightway raise their hand and, I mean,
Yes.
seeking permission from you, raise their question
Yes.
without switching on video, okay? Because time is short.
So any question for so far? Something is coming up, sir.
I think it's coming.
So you may
So
continue.
that is
You
for
may
the
able to.
consideration of the organizers.
Yeah.
Bhartenduji, I would like to share one thing with you. By the time maybe we give 1 more minute to the participants to raise a question, and they are listening to me also. But at the moment, I am addressing Bhartenduji.
Oh, sir.
That you see, in one of the very well-known international conference, that was the International Conference of the American Accounting Association, which is considered to be the world's best body. Okay, I was joining it online from India. When I was president of the association, they permitted me online access on a complimentary basis. What I found was that they were constantly reviewing the response of the audience, because it's an online, worldwide people were joining the sessions. So after almost every 4th or 5th minute, there was a pop-up question on one window on the side of the screen. Right? It's an audience poll sort of.
Okay.
That just before we said this, what is your opinion? Give your opinion into the radio buttons which are on the left-hand side. And they were having a constant vigil that how many persons are actively listening to us. So maybe in our programs also we may have to think in that direction.
Think that way. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Important, you see. Yeah, there is a significance of thinking about these things also. Because I do expect questions anyway.
Yeah, one question came, sir. One question came.
Great.
Adi Veppa. He's asking.
Please permit her to speak in case it suits you.
Speaking is not there. I'll just read it out, sir. Is creation of qualified researchers intention of universities?
Great question. Good question. Yeah. I don't know, is there a lady asking the question, right?
Adi Veppa, Naragund.
Yeah, maybe. Dear friend, very rightly, you have caught a slice from whatever I was saying.
Mail.
In fact, in the country, you see, you are also a teacher in the university or college. What are we doing in higher education? We are developing knowledgeable, persons in the society. We are imparting undergraduate education, then post-graduation education. Then we are asking them to go for even higher doctorate degree. So when we take them to doctoral degree process, our objective is absolutely what you said, to develop, create qualified researchers. In PhDs, universities have an objective of training a person in methodologies of research and examining the person like we examine our undergraduate, postgraduate students, examining the person and verifying as a university that yes, the person can now be said to be a qualified researcher, and therefore under the university statute we award doctoral degree to the person. So very right question, very rightly appreciated. Thank you. Next question, please, in case. No question. Okay. Friends, that doesn't mean that I am not asking you to raise question now. Okay. Still, in next 1 or 2 minutes, if you have another question, kindly put a note of it. By end of the session, right, 5 or 7 minutes, I will definitely spare for your questions. And if you don't raise your questions, you will be wasting those 5 or 7 minutes. So please ask.
Sir, 2 minutes, 2 more questions came.
Very good, very good.
Is it one from Ashok Sharma? He's asking, is it possible to conduct research without any bias? And then why and why not? From same person.
Yeah, I would congratulate this man for this question. And I think, Bhartenduji, you are also enjoying this question.
Yes,
Very
sir.
good question. Very good question. So I think now the ice is being broken. Friends, continuously go on asking questions. Time is there for me to deliver my rest part. Don't worry. If you are coming up, your brain has started generating questions, please go on ask. We are using our time the best way at the moment. Friend, dear friend, yes. And first, my answer to your question is yes, it is very much possible to do research without any bias. This is the first reply. Another is, you said why or why not? Okay, let me tell you, there is no question of why not. There is no question of why not. Why? Because if you are biased in doing research, that means you are not scientific. I used the word earlier, objective and systematic methods. So the moment you become biased, you are no more objective. Right? You have become hunch-based, you have become subjective. And that way your research is hardly any productive work that you are doing. You're wasting your time. Your research is of no value, zero value research you are doing. So research has in any case be done without bias. It has in any case to be done in an objective manner. Because if you do not do this, the research has zero value. Yes, Professor, another question. Hello? Hello?
Yes, sir. Two
Yeah.
more questions are there.
Yeah, go on, please. Please raise that. Yeah.
One is from Jitendra Malik. He is asking, how does scientific research differ from other form of inquiry?
Very good. You see, that I have already replied, Jiten.
Yeah, yes. And another question that you can mix together.
Yes.
Another is from Prashant Maurya. He's asking, why have we lagged behind in scientific research?
Good. Oh, your participants are great, but good questions. Good question. Why are we lagging behind? Dear friend, this is in fact the great challenge before, if we talk about our country as a whole. I was talking about this also today. Right? Reason is that perhaps as a whole, I mean, with regards to everybody, we have very bright generations, we have very good blend of teachers, good universities, everything. Why are we lacking and why did we lack? Right. Point is, here lies the role of universities and colleges, like the institutions in which we are serving. Here lies our role as teachers. That could we really brush up our scientific aptitude to reach knowledge? One. Number two, we means teachers here. Teachers means you and me. Number two, could we really pass on this skill to our next generation? That means our students. Now, if you say that to some extent we have failed in India to do scientific research, it is because of these two reasons. And there is where is my call. When I said the importance of scientific research and when I said the great significance of qualified and trained researchers. This is the point which I was making, which you are asking. Now there is a need. All of us, because you see, we are the metal of the university, okay? All infrastructure, all money being spent, everything else is giving us strength. But tools are we, the teachers. We, the teachers of higher education, faculties in higher education in the country as a whole, have to come up to the expectation of the country that we now proceed to make the younger generation equipped with a scientific attitude to search knowledge. Let us develop this skill into them. Let us sharpen this skill into them. If we, to the extent that we become successful in this, we will be moving our great nation towards scientific researches? So I would again say that was a very good question. Yeah,
Sir,
Bharti,
two more
next
questions
please.
came.
Yeah, let it.
One is from anonymous attendee, name is missing. Question is, how do we conduct research scientifically? Actually, you are talking about that only throughout.
Yeah, that my dear, I have already answered. Next,
Yes.
please.
And one more interesting question from Priyanka Ghosh. That question is, sir, you said moving from known to unknown is research, but known is subjective. What is known to me may not be known to others.
Good,
So,
very good.
best of research, if I learned something which was unknown to me, but was not unknown to others,
Yes,
we called a research work.
great. Priyanka Ghosh, you said. Priyanka, great question. Good.
Priyanta.
Priyanka Ghosh. Okay. So, good question, Priyanka. I am happy. I mean, my brothers and sisters who are younger to me in the fraternity are thinking now. Excellent. I mean, I'm thankful to you for raising this question. Very rightly said. See, the point is, when I said known set, I said all people, all websites, all libraries together. Now, how can you really compare all these who are contributing to the field of knowledge? Somebody may know A, somebody may know B, somebody may know Z, and all the three may not be knowing respectively other alphabets. Yes. Right. So that is the reason that for me, the research is, as you very rightly said, that if I do not know something and I am unraveling that, that might be known to somebody else already. And I feel that I have done some research. Exactly. This is bound to happen. At times, even to elaborate it more, suppose you are here in Calcutta, you are doing some research. Suppose you are in economics. You worked very hard and came up with some ideas which you found to be new. Somebody was there in Australia who might already have known those things, but those things were not communicated to you. One. Another, that fellow has already put all those ideas on a website. So many people were knowing about it, but somehow you didn't come across that website. Right? So all this is going to happen, undoubtedly. Maybe sometimes there are cases actually that somebody did a research now, 2024, say for example, that was already researched some 50 years before. Already researched, but it never came to the light, or at least never came to the light of this person. Now, what do you do? Nothing to worry. We all human beings, for example, have our own path of going ahead into the research. But one thing only can be added here, which I think if time permits, I may be discussing the remaining part of my session also. That is why is the importance of review of literature. That is why is the importance of, in particularly exploratory researches, to explore as much as you can. Because, Priyanta, you may be knowing that all the knowledge that may be available may not be recorded. It may be with somebody, unexplored, neither written in a book, nor put on a website, nothing. No article, no journal, not internet. But somebody somewhere is knowing about it. What should you do? What should the young researchers should do? They should explore as much as possible. They should do the review of literature, at least of the recorded part of the knowledge, to the best possible extent. There again, there is no end. There are cases I have myself experienced when my PhD candidate have done good review of literature for 5 months, 7 months, because there is a limit. And after doing everything, lady candidate it was, she started going ahead. Now, after 1 year, she said, "Sir, I received one more piece of literature where this is already there, which I was doing." So you cannot control it. This is an undefined, unlimited, infinite world. So the conclusion from my side of this answer to your questions and my replies summary is that don't worry. This is a Mahasagar. This is an ocean. Go on swimming. Go on searching for pearls to your capacities. You cannot really claim. You cannot really claim. Now here, one very famous dictum comes to my mind, which would be very useful for me to narrate here. Right? They say this is a sort of a Sanskrit-based ukti, which is in Hindi translated as "ज्ञान के क्षेत्र में कोई दावा नहीं कर सकता." I am sure many of you, perhaps majority of you, know Hindi. ज्ञान के क्षेत्र में कोई दावा नहीं कर सकता. Translating it into English, nobody can claim in the field of knowledge. Nobody, I said. No claimant. If you say I am the most knowledgeable person, at least in my university, maybe you are. But please refrain from claiming that I am the most knowledgeable. Because why cannot somebody claim in the field of knowledge? Because knowledge itself is unending. When something itself doesn't have its own ultimate, its own conclusion, how can you claim? Many of my teachers, my great teachers, for whom I always have high regards in my system, my knowledge, my feelings, emotions, have taught me several things, which I still remember. Which when I was teaching my students, I used to say, no, these things are wrong. And believe me, my friends, I am well aware that when my students will become teachers, they may say the same thing to their students. So this is the, unique and enjoyable world of knowledge. Bhartendu ji, please.
Sir, you have ignited their minds, so many questions are coming.
So let us take a pause for the moment. I'm so happy. I'm so happy. Okay. We were just discussing how to motivate them to ask questions, but I'm so happy that this sample of the fraternity around the country, right, are so intelligent, so responsive, very good friends. So I'll speak for another 25 minutes, then we will have 5 minutes break. And again, Bhartendu will be raising questions. Okay. But 1 o'clock sharp, I'll have to close because I have to go somewhere. So that is my limitation. But anyway, let me see. Okay. Friends, this objective parts now I'll have to, I am planning to skip because this may be skipped for the time. Let me now go to some other part, which I really wanted to discuss with you. Important. What are the features of good research? Here, I'm specifically going to talk to you about doctoral research, right? Because this is something with which we every day come across, and which is our forte. We are the PhD supervisors. We have to train researchers. Students will come to our university, join as research scholars. We are there to give them shape. So this will be very pertinent and useful to discuss this aspect here. Now, I am unraveling further some points here. Let me first tell you from where I am quoting these things, whether it's out of my experience or I have some literature to support. Let me tell you, these are out of the basic rules and regulations of the universities in the country and even outside the country. This is what the universities regulations expect a doctoral research to do. In other words, these are few things which initially I will be showing to you. which the universities has a yardstick to award a doctoral degree. Right? You all know that all universities are statutory. There are laws which have framed the universities, created the universities. These laws says that university, you have a power to award degree, and a research degree of PhD can be awarded if a candidate fulfills these conditions. So those conditions I am going to talk to you. Now, in case you are not knowing it before, which I suspect that perhaps you are not knowing that well, I think it is very pertinent to talk to you about these points here. Ability of sound judgment and analysis. If a candidate evinces this ability, then the university permits the authorities to award that candidate a PhD degree. Now, maybe that you say that I already have sound judgment ability, even without doing PhD. Even when I was in graduation, I was having sound ability of making judgments. But here, the point is very specific. They say that whatever data you collect, whatever points you are trying to raise, whatever conclusions you are going to make, in all of these things, your ability of making a sound judgment should reflect, which should relate with whatever you have said earlier or whatever methodically you have tried to generate and capture. And then you have made a sound judgment comment on that. That's extremely important. And sound analysis also. You should know data you may collect, but can you show the ability of making a good quality analysis of that data? Now, across subjects, within our economics, commerce, and management also, you know that there is qualitative analysis, there's quantitative analysis. In qualitative analysis also, we have a plethora of tools. In quantitative also, we have the same thing. Nowadays, we have softwares, statistical softwares are there, and multiple statistical softwares are there. Then nowadays, we have several AI-based softwares. In a recent case, one of research scholar was telling me about it, that tools for analysis are coming up in a big way. You all know about tests of significance. There are parametric, non-parametric, then there are varieties. Okay, point is that, can you really pick up the right tool for analysis? Can you do the right type of analysis, which is suiting to your research objectives and the data which you have collected and the related things, is the first and foremost requirement for a good doctoral research. I can definitely cite you an example out of my little experience. That one time I came across through one of my colleagues one doctoral thesis for examination, which when I initially looked, I mean, though these are all confidential assignments that we have as examiners. Okay, but sometimes, with that confidentiality, just to serve the your cause of academics, we also sometimes share our thoughts on that, right? Without breaking the confidentiality. This is what we are supposed to do. This is what you should also do when you become examiners. So this colleague told me that, see, this is a thesis. You may wish to go through it for an hour and we'll discuss. When I went through that thesis, dear friends, I am very happy to tell you that it appeared to be a very attractive book, sort of very nicely, neatly bound, printed, good quality diagrams, colored, maps inside. I mean, prima facie didn't appear to be any lack, right? You may call it a very tidy work. So that was the first impression, like a teacher coming to the class and very well dressed and decently moving and decently combed and all. You feel, oh, good teacher has come to the class. Now the teacher has started teaching. I started going through that thesis. After half an hour, I started having doubts about the quality of that thesis. And then came my colleague and he asked, what's your opinion? I said, dear friend, it appeared to be very hard work thesis, but it does not show any sound judgment ability of the candidate, nor of a sound analysis. These two things were mainly missing. Good collection of data, good presentation of everything, but where was the judgment? Where was one's contribution? Where was the analysis? And if the analysis was flowing, was that appropriate? No. And ultimately, that candidate could not be awarded a doctorate. So that is the first and foremost thing. Now, in case you are completing your own PhD, please take care of it. When your candidates come to whom you are going to supervise, ask them that you develop ability. Ask them, you have collected data, okay. Now write down 3 pages on it. Analyze in your own way. And tell them that nowadays, ChatGPT and other LLM models have come, right? Your mobile is providing meta facility of analyzing. Students have started using them also. Okay. But just before I was at Calcutta, I returned 2 days back only from there. An international conference was there. They scanned all papers presented in that conference, also for AI similarity. Now we have tools. That if you say that judgment also ChatGPT will make, analysis also it will make, I will just brush up a little and paste it inside. No, that won't work. It has to be your. There are tools to catch hold of these type of irregularities, right? So friend, this is number one. What next? Discovery of new facts. You are supposed to discover new facts in your PhD. Stay here itself. Next line we will read later. Now, as you are all aware, universities are giving you limited time to finish your PhD and submit. Minimum 3 years, say, maximum 4 years, 5 years, special cases 6 years, something like that. Now, whether there is a guarantee that despite of all your intelligence, skill, hard work, diligence, you will really be able to discover new facts in the area of your research? Whether new facts can just like that be taken out? No. Not essential. You are supposed to, but it's not essential that a PhD candidate sincerely doing the work will really discover. Therefore, this is also allowed. Or new interpretation of existing facts. This is also acceptable. You might have come across several researches and research articles which say revisiting XYZ theory. So you can very well revisit the things in your thesis. Have your interpretation. Maybe it's your view, logical, of course, not subjective. But you come up with an idea of yours. That's why we say that all doctoral work is philosophical. So you philosophize and interpret in your way. This is an essential requirement. In addition, one more requirement actually. Right, there may be few more which I think we can ignore. Well, broadly we are covering this. This is cohesive and literary presentation. All these 4 words mean a lot for us when it comes to doctoral research. First, let us talk about presentation. So how can we present? We can present orally, we can present in a written way. Either we communicate, verbally, or we communicate in a written way. Here, essentially, it is a written communication. It's a doctoral thesis. Now, if it is a written communication that tells it loudly that we must be efficient in written communication, and there comes this adjective, literary presentation. Now, what is literary? Any language which your university permits you to write the thesis in can be used. Right? You are from across India. I know in many parts of the India, it's not essential that you must write in English in case of your thesis there. Even in case of economics, commerce, management thesis. Right? Like in my state, the university statutes allow you to write in Hindi. Most part of the Hindi belt in the country, they permit in Hindi. Many other universities in the country, which are in Bengal, in Maharashtra, in Tamil Nadu, Kerala, Karnataka, Andhra, they permit them to write their doctoral thesis in their regional language also. Right. So that part of language, it depends on the rules. I also would like to add that, see, the overwhelmingly giving importance to English may also be having a question against it. Because in many parts of the world where great researchers have been there and are there, they are writing their work in their languages, not English. Japanese writing in Japanese, getting Nobel Award. Chinese writing in Chinese, Korean in Korean, French, German. Yeah. Who is bothered about English so much? So that is also an aspect which we Indians have to think about. How about our languages? Can we not lift up the level of knowledge through our language, our mother tongue, our native way of communication? But that point, let us leave that. That depends on the university tone. It has to be but literary also. You cannot be childish in communication, written. Your language should be weighty. Your language should be of high standard. This is an essential requirement of a good doctoral research. Besides this presentation has to be cohesive also. You cannot be incohesive in making it writing a thesis. Cannot be. There will be a serious objection from the examiners and you may not be getting the desired results. Now, these days, because of the ICT and all support, cohesiveness has a special new threat to the system, which I would elaborate a little. What threat? You see, these days, this is customary and, of course, no objection against it, that you do research when you sit on your laptop. Normally, you just type the things rather than writing it with a pen. That has become the demand of the hour, need of the hour. Now, what happens? That you are sitting on a laptop, you are going to write about a particular theory, which is background of your research work, doctoral research, for example. Now you have went to Google, used certain passwords, keywords, picked up list of websites, one by one you went through it. At every place you find, yeah, this is good piece of writing. 5-sentence paragraph, picked up, copied, pasted into another file in the same laptop with the reference citation details required. That way you went on doing it. Suppose 10, 15 such paragraphs you have collected. Now you think that, okay, let me finalize this draft, this 2-page draft of my thesis. Friends, the same thing we used to do when we were doing PhD. I did my PhD about 40 years before. No computers, no internet, no photocopy, no telephone, those times. But we were also doing similar things. Of course, all men. Going to the library, picking up journals, reading them, finding that something is relevant, copying it down with pen and paper into our diary or register, putting all citations, details like that, collecting things, reading. You can really visualize that how cumbersome and hardworking it might have been. But even you now have newer challenges, which we never had that time. So that's not the point. That was contemporary requirement of those times, and this is contemporary requirement of this time. That difference only is there. But now what happens is that since you could collect some 12, 13 paragraphs, and you want to rearrange them as a background of your write-up and then make your comments, as we have discussed. You have a tendency of picking up a paragraph and without really making any changes or combining the things or learning it by heart and putting in your own words, just paste it into the main file. Then you read through other paragraphs, you find another one is good, then third one, then fourth one. Mostly you paste the things, even when you make some connecting sentences of your own in between. This is what is going on. How can I say that this is going on? Based on my own experience. I'm still an active PhD examiner. And of course, my 2 more candidates are now remaining because I have already retired. So I will now not be taking new PhD candidates for supervision. So because of this touch with the current generation, I can tell you, it's a common problem we are facing. Now, what happens that because all these are suppose 10 different views of 10 different people, you try to arrange them in an order, of course. Still cohesiveness is missing. When you read 1, 2 paragraphs, third paragraph you reach, you say, this has already been said above. This fellow, while writing these sentences, had another thread of thinking. Somebody has another thread of thinking. You were supposed to develop your own thread of thinking, a series of thoughts, and then cohesively required to write, which is missing. This is also that way an essential requirement of thesis. Right? So friends, these 3 main statutory requirements of a good doctoral research. We may sum up these 3 also this way, that in case you want to do a good PhD, you should be good at language, you should be good at presentation, your language standard should be of higher side, whatever language you are using. Suppose you are using English, your English should be of literary standards, right? Not a childlike sentences you should use. You should know how to write in a cohesive manner, and you should do all efforts to ensure your cohesiveness. You always try to come up with your own interpretations or come up with new facts. Always try to have your own judgmental and thinking ability, what they these days often call critical thinking ability, shown, proven, and also learn how to analyze the data with your respective related subject, which may be qualitative, quantitative, and the series of methods available. Now, there are few more things which I think may be added. And maybe I will continue for a few minutes. And I'll try to be brief in discussing these points, because I would prefer to answer the questions. I don't have time beyond 1 o'clock. I'm sorry. And normally, I leave it to the coordinators. I may give 10, 15, 20 minutes extra. Today, I have to leave actually. So no issues. Be ready with your questions and go on posting your questions. No problem. Maybe we may have an arrangement where Bhartendra will send me the entire list and I will reply to them on mail. No problem. I even am ready for that. Friends, few more things in addition to these 3. In a doctoral thesis, I have listed down here. though of course we don't have much time to discuss them in detail briefly. All the objectives of your research in a PhD thesis should be very clearly worded and defined. There has to be no ambiguity in the objectives which you define, because they are the beacon lights to guide you through the process of your research. Entire research process which you are following should be detailed, threadbare. Everything should be put very clearly what exactly you are going to do. Design should be thoroughly planned. Right? I am sure that there would be some lectures during this refresher course on research design. And in fact, I also had those objectives and had a plan to discuss with you designing of research also. But that much time was not available. Anyway, you will learn it further. You might have known it already. Requirement is that this planning should be thorough, because your entire path will be decided by your research design. And if any mistake occurs here, it would be like making a big building with an improper design. So you know what happens. That while making that building, you cannot undo several things once it has been done. Almost similar is the story of a PhD researcher. If you have taken a wrong path, somewhere design was not proper or suiting to your objectives, you will face a lot of problems. So don't be hasty in planning your research design. High ethical standards applied. More than what has been required might have said about this point. Very briefly, two things I would like to highlight. First is that the unethical practices in this regard grew up so much that the UGC has to come up with rules, very strict rules of plagiarism, to control plagiarism in PhDs. Now, every university candidates are required to get their thesis checked against plagiarism, and there is a limit up to which the plagiarism is permitted. Right, that's one. Then perhaps you already know. I actually wanted to add something. And that addition is, friends, please appreciate. You are already a teacher. Right? Students look up to you as a person of high standard. You see, your recognition among your students as a good teacher and a knowledgeable person is there. But more than that, you are considered by your students as a person with high standards. They can never afford to imagine even about you, your students. Can never imagine even seeing you doing poor quality things. You, I think, agree with this view. Once we are teachers, which we are already, then your candidates or you yourself, how can you really afford even to become even little unethical in doing these things? Because apart from all regulatory things, forget about that. If you are noticed being unethical by one of your students there, and this is communicated to you, you know the bitterness of that feeling, which you will carry all through your life. So I would say that after you become a teacher, okay, in researches, perhaps becoming unethical cannot be afforded. Cannot be afforded. Never go into that direction. In every doctoral research, you should thoroughly explain, properly explain, frankly explain your limitations. Right? There is nothing wrong in it. This is what is required. Analysis adequate. This I have already touched. How much analysis I should do? Reply is here. think about the needs of the users and do the adequate analysis, right? That explains it. And one more word is, which is extremely important, is all the conclusions that you write, all the findings that you have noted down must have a connection with your research. Many times you find, in fact, more than what may be expected, that whatever is your analysis and data, conclusions when you write, they appear to be entirely mismatched because you already knew what you were going to write as conclusions. And for just for sake of it, you have shown the data analysis done. Nothing, no connection in between the two. So this point particularly becomes a serious objection when doctoral thesis is seen. I think, yeah, here this list is over, and I am just here itself closing down my presentation. Bhartendu, please raise the questions on behalf of the students to me.
Sure, sir. This was a very nice presentation, sir. And because many questions we are receiving, it means participant must also have enjoyed. So
I am very happy about.
So we don't have very much time. Only 5 minutes, I think, is left. So
Yeah,
what some 5-6 questions are there?
Yeah, you decide the questions and please.
Yeah. So quickly you can answer. First, one question is from Ashok Sharma. How do we know when to stop reviewing literature, the known part, and start actual research, the unknown part?
Great question. Great question. Very relevant question for me to answer here. And very nice pickup by Bhartendu. That I was. Out of so many questions, he has picked up this question. Friend, this is a very difficult question to answer. Right? So, but then, what is my answer at least? I don't know whether my answer is the best answer. But my answer to this is, with the little experience I have, my answer to this is, as much as possible is the adequate limit of doing research review. Now, as much as possible means what? How can I take it to the pragmatic level and make a comment? Yes. Roughly speaking, say, broadly saying, no guidelines can be framed in that regard. Say around 6 months' time, you take only in reviewing the literature. And there, as I already said, ensure that all your 6 months are used productively. Because you don't have time. 6 months is much less time to review the literature. You know that you don't have more time, so go on doing it. Once you have completed that reasonable period of 6, 7, 8 months somewhere, you start proceeding further because you have to. Side by side, I would advise, like I have been advising to many of my research scholars, that side by side, have a slot of time for continuously reviewing the literature till you conclude your thesis. Because you never know, after 1 year when you were just putting into data analysis and other things, some new things came. You can well ignore them. You can well ignore them because nobody can guarantee, I told you. Even your examiner cannot say that, why did you not see this work? You may claim, sir, it never came across my attention. I'm sorry. I tried. I could not. But you have to cut a sorry figure. Yes. So initially you should spend good time and then a small slot for maybe up to the end of the time that the thesis continues. Even if you are concluding your thesis now bound and being submitted, go on doing review of literature, I would advise you. Because you cannot put it now into your thesis, but at least you will be aware that new things have come. Note it down in your file. You are now a recognized expert of the field in which that PhD has been done. At least you are updated. If anybody raises a question, you say, yes, I'm aware of that work also. But by the time this came up to my attention, my work was over. Fine, no issues. Yes, sir. Next, please.
Sir, one question is from Subhashish Misra. Is incorporation of research in UG level as per NEP 2020 going to affect the quality of PhD research work?
Good question. Another good question. Yes, my dear friend, my view is yes. Worldwide, it is happening actually. In India, we are little late. So my observation about this development of NEP is, yes, this is definitely going to affect quality of PhDs, because at a nascent stage, we are developing, research thought into our students. Right? They are very young and they are learning research is something, okay? They started opening up their mind and thinking about it. So it's a positive development. It will definitely, over the years, improve the quality of PhDs. Yes.
Sir, maybe one or two quick questions, one-line answers you can give. This is from Ahana Sen, Dr. Ahana. That how many research objective is suitable for a research project or article?
Madam, what can be the reply? Another good question. See, one reply, quick reply would be, there should not be many. Many to the extent that that they really become unachievable in the thesis. So generally speaking, 3, 4 may be more than enough. Maybe sometimes even 2, 3 may work. More important to decide the number is, can you really achieve them? Can you really achieve them? And can your research problem, whatever you have framed, is more or less occupied, covered by those objectives. But in any case, it should not be a very large number. A large number definition can't be given. Thank you. Next, please.
Sir, one more question from Jitendra Malik. What is the significance of control group in experimental research?
Extreme importance. You cannot have any experimental research without the control group, because in that case, you cannot compare and decide the result of the experiments. And therefore, it is extremely important. The only thing is, which I would like to add here is that picking up the control group items and the experimental group items must be done very carefully. Like, there are some, there is a design which is called random replication design. This is an example only. I mean, I won't say this is the ultimate, but like random replication is one example which should help you in identifying the items for control group and experimental group. So my answer to your question is, it's extremely important to have a control group. Another is, picking up the items in control and experimental group should be very careful. Sir, can we conclude now?
Yeah. Yes, sir. Sure, sir.
Okay.
Thank you, sir, for sparing your time and be here. I will not take much time just to say thanks. Vidhu, anything you want to say? Unmute.
No, sir.
Who is there?
No, nothing.
Okay. Sir, he is Professor Dr. Vidhu Kantidas. He is Associate Professor in Management Department.
Oh, great.
No.
Nice to see you.
2008.
Okay. Thank you, Bhartenduji. Shall I leave now?
Yes, sure, sir. Sure. Thank you.
All
sir.
the best to all participants and to yours. Bye-bye.
So, dear friends, we could not take 2-3 questions. So, anyway, this is really very happy. I am very happy to see these many questions you are putting. So, continue this practice, and certainly you are going to get answers in next sessions. So, we will take a break of half an hour now, and we will assemble at 1:30 sharp to start our third session for today. That is going to be addressed by Professor Anand Mohan Pal. He is a senior professor in Department of Business Administration in Calcutta University. And he is going to talk on recent developments on sustainability reporting. So, interesting topic. And a senior faculty